Today is Monday, October the 16th, 2006. My name is Mary Wood. I'm working with the archives at St. Mary's Church. We are in the archives room in the rectory, and I am going to be speaking with Angie Bartholome this morning. Angie, we're doing an oral history project, part of a project which involves all three parishes here in Muncie, Indiana, and in conjunction with the Archives and Special Collections at Ball State University. And since you have been in the parish for a number of years, I would like to start off with a few questions. Were you born in Muncie?
Yes, I was.
When did you first come to the church, or was this your home parish?
This is my home parish. So I left for a while, attended college, was married, lived in Indianapolis for a while, and have returned to Muncie after that.
How long do you think you've been in Muncie as an adult?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. My math, I'm just trying to think. I've been married for about 15 years, so I would say a good 12 of that has been back in Muncie and at St. Mary's.
Okay. What was it like growing up in Muncie?
It is, I say it all the time, it is my fondest memories. I look back on it and still say today I have 3 children and think it is a great location to raise a family. When you think of the Midwest, for some reason on the news, Midwest is Minnesota and some of those other more Midwestern states, but when I think of Midwest, I think of Muncie, Indiana.
What was it like being a Catholic growing up in Muncie?
I recall having friends, other religions. I think the great thing about it back then was it was no great deal, no big difference that you had friends in different religions. They did their thing, we did our thing. A lot of my friends were Catholic. I attended St. Mary's School and was lucky enough to have a Catholic education, but then I did go on to attend public schools and public for high school, and you never felt like there was any kind of separation. Everybody was one.
How many years were you in at St. Mary's?
Kindergarten through 5th grade. Had to leave because of my mom's medical. She was pregnant, had trouble, came back at the end of 6th grade, and then went back to public education in 7th grade.
Okay. So you belong to this parish because your parents were members here? Your family was a member of this parish?
Yes, our whole family that lives here still are members. So yes, we are a member for that reason, but we're also members because we choose to be. This is where we want to be.
Okay. What role does the parish play in your life, or your family's life, or your life personally in your family's life?
When I had to answer that right off the top of my head, I would say a very large role. Our weekend was spent here. We hold the parish very high. We hold the parish as a family to us. It's an extension of our family. Not only do we have our parish family in the church, we also have our parish family within the school. It is a great feeling to know that you have all these people to rely on or call on or help. It's very rare that somebody tells you no in this parish family.
Mm-hmm. So you have what you consider both a parish family and a school.
Oh, definitely, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. That's one of the things about St. Mary's. They try to include the school within the parish and the parish within the school. Anyone who does anything within the school is welcome to come from the parish and vice versa. Mm-hmm. They do try to meld the two groups together. You don't come to church and you come to school. It's all one.
Okay. Do you have any specific memories growing up in the parish and then growing up in the school?
I could go on. I was even talking to some of my sisters about this before I came. There are so many fond memories. Mm-hmm. Not only the memory that stands out so vividly in my mind with Father Grady, but the nuns, we were so lucky to have them on the grounds. Their home, they would invite us to come, and we would be able to be in the nuns' home, and they were like big sisters. They were also authoritative. You knew where your place was, but they also made you feel very welcome. I think a couple of the strong traditions that I remember so fondly are May crowning. We used to have a huge festival over at Mill Hall. St. Mary's has a beautiful grounds. We take up so many, I forget how many blocks, and like 13, 11 buildings, something like that on this property. But it was a gigantic festival. It was almost like a miniature, what's that called? The county fair. They had a big Ferris wheel. You had umpteen million games to play, and everyone came. Everyone was involved, and everyone came. It took up the whole No Hall building. It was outside. The property was closed. You had to park way far away. It took up the whole No Hall grounds, and it was just a ball. It was something that are very fond memories to talk about and look back on. Another one is our sacraments. We always held those very high and very important. You always looked forward to the next one, what was coming next for you. And the school and the parish both made you feel very important when you were ready to make your first reconciliation, when you were ready to come on to your first communion. You really felt as a part of the church family. I still have the picture. I remember what I was wearing. The parish used to have an Easter egg hunt. I found the big golden egg. I'll never forget. I have my picture with Father Grady holding my egg. So they continue today to even do these family activities. So not only are you doing social events, you're doing sacramental events with all of the same people. But when I mentioned Father Grady, a couple of my other fond memories would be of Father Holbrook and Father Stone. Just fantastic people, priests, and friends.
In what way did you relate with the priests?
Father Holbrook was so tall, and we'd have to, raise our eyes to see him, to meet his, but yet you never felt like he was above you. He'd come down to your level. The neat thing about it is you'd walk out of school, and they were always outside. They came to play with us at recess. We played with them. They were always available for you, always hugging you. They made you feel like an equal. They made you feel like you could come to them when you had a problem or an issue, and they were always in the classroom talking about what was important for our church.
Do you have any specific memories of individual teachers?
Oh, yes. Kindergarten loved. Kindergarten, I remember bringing out our mats and sleeping, and it was a fantastic year. But the teacher that stand out, two of them the most in my mind, are my second grade teacher. I remember all of us standing up, pushing in our desks, and reciting, "Good morning, Sister Mary Frances Teresa," every morning. She was just a fond teacher. She kept us there, if that makes any sense. She kept your mind there. She kept your soul there. You were happy to come to school. It was a great fond memory, and with it being your first communion year, she made it very special. And then my other fond memory would be of Mrs. Walsh, my third grade teacher. And I don't know what it was. We had a special bond, I guess, because I was never an exceptional student. I got A's and B's, but didn't fly off the chart. But she always made you feel very important.
Did you have, how many religious did you have as teachers during your time? Was it mainly lay teachers, or?
If you would look back, most of them were, but I remember second grade, and then sixth grade, and then my sixth grade teacher went on to be the principal, Sister Marie.
What about the parish going to when the church was the old church was in Knoll Hall? That was long before your time. But do you see changes in the physical structure of the church as such during your time here?
I really haven't.
Okay.
And that's one of the nice things, that the tradition, the feeling that your world around you is changing so quickly, it's so hard you can't keep up, that this is something that's stable for you. It doesn't change. That's what's nice.
We've touched a bit on memories of the pastors and the assistants? Do you recall perhaps when Bishop Gallagher was in residence? Or has Father Grady always been the pastor while you were here?
Father Grady was always the pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it was very difficult on his passing because we were so lucky and so fortunate to have such a caring individual. Yes, he was our pastor. Yes, he is a priest, but he was also a friend, someone that you could rely on, call on, someone who was always there for you. He never let you feel he was having a bad day or he had an issue. He always came right back to you. What do you need? What can I do for you? He always put others before himself.
You say you have 3 children?
Yes.
Are they in school here?
Yes.
What are their names, their ages, or grades?
Jacob is in 1st grade, Samantha is in 5th grade, and Tyler is in 7th grade.
Okay. What made you decide to send them to St. Mary's?
It was very important for my husband and I knew the fond memories I had. I knew how important it was to me to have a Catholic-based education, and we felt the same way that it was important for our children to have a Catholic-based education. We wanted them to be at St. Mary's. We want them to remain there from kindergarten, even though we have a preschool program. It was really important for us to at least stay here from kindergarten through 8th grade. Mm-hmm. Our society is changing so quickly on us. I feel that our Catholic-based education just gives our children a solid base. We're just simply setting our children up for success by sending them here, is the way we feel.
And are you pleased with it? Has the school changed since you've been here, now that your children are here?
It's changed dramatically. One of the people that I did not mention was Mrs. Van Kazer. She was my 5th grade teacher, and she was another person who stood out in my mind. And she was the principal then when our first child came to school here. So I felt that when she was still principal, it still felt the same. But what has changed, and I guess what feels different, are the people who run the school and the people who are teachers are different, just because the age difference. Mm-hmm. So, and it's kind of hard to explain for me, because in some ways some of the traditions have stayed the same, but in other ways we've been forced to change because our world has changed. I still think it's a great place to raise a family and to have your children receive an education. It has been shown that a lot of our students go on to the public high schools and are the valedictorians and the salutatorians from those high schools. That says a lot to me. I feel that if you're able to give your child a family-based, Catholic-based education, then you're just giving them that basis to go on to make better decisions in life in general. I think a strong education is very important, and I feel that they still receive that today. I know Father Grady, said that for years. Our I-STEP scores were always ahead of other grades and remained steady, and it does today.
As you were growing up in the parish, or in Muncie, or even today, have you ever experienced any overt or covert anti-Catholic attitudes or practices? Have you run up against any sort of bias or discrimination?
I thought about this question, and I really haven't. If I have, I was able to simply state my feelings or state the way I felt, and I didn't feel like it was an issue that I needed to go on. Mm-hmm. I really haven't. I've been very blessed.
Have you, going back to when we first started talking, you have lived in Indianapolis for a time?
Yes.
And also in
Bloomington, at IU.
When
Mm-hmm.
you were at school?
Yes.
But majority of your years have been spent here in Muncie.
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever any thought of not returning?
No, not really. There really wasn't. It ended up working out. We were blessed that we were able to come back to Muncie and be around our family. Our family, like I said before, does still attend St. Mary's. It was just an obvious choice that if we were going to be in Indiana, this is where we wanted to be. Mm-hmm. And ironically enough, my husband even converted to Catholicism when we were in school at IU. And he never had a doubt. This was the place for us.
Really? Is he also from Muncie?
He is.
Yes.
Well, he was born in southern Indiana, but he has lived in Muncie since 4th grade.
Okay. Looking ahead now, the future, let's take the future of the school first. What do you see ahead for St. Mary's School?
I only see great things ahead. We have I think a new principal, Mr. Jeff Kiefer, who has come in and is taking the bulls by the horn and leading us in a direction where the school needs to be. It's always a rocky road. We've had changes in the last couple of years, and it has been difficult with the passing of Father Grady. But I think what's so important to our school is remaining steady, remaining in the traditions that we have been able to set so far, so long ago. It can only go in a positive direction. And our teachers love our children. They want to be there, and when you want to be in your job, then you're going to have success.
Taking from that, what about the future of St. Mary's Parish? Where do you see that heading?
I guess in the same direction, steady, on course, and only getting better. I have so many fond memories, and our children are still here. This is where, I said it before, where we want to be. So I guess I'm not qualified enough to be able to answer the question exactly where we're going to be or where we're headed. I know our pastor now, Father Ed Casina, is laying out a lot of strategic plans for our parish, which I don't know as if we've always been able to look to the future, because we've always known we've had Father Grady and he's always leading us. So I think now we're kind of, I hope that Father Ed continues to grasp us as leaders and pulling us all together to continue to lead our parish in a positive direction.
Okay. Are there any specific liturgical, social, or other events that are connected that you would like to, that are connected to the parish or the school that you would like to bring up or talk about or address?
Even though I mentioned it before, I would never want to see May crowning to be lost. I just think with our parish being named St. Mary's, it is very important for our church and school to come together on that special day. I look back with very fond memories, my whole childhood with May crowning. I still get teary-eyed, and today when I go to May crowning, now I'm on the other side and get to celebrate that day with my children. So that day is still very important to us. The other event that I remember so fondly are the Stations of the Cross every Friday afternoon during Lent. I think we're very blessed that our priests still hold that as a very sacred, important part of our sacraments, and want to keep that as a tradition in our school and our parish. Anyone is welcome to attend. Our kids get to attend with being in the school, and anyone is welcome. So I feel that those are two really important events. Another organization that has been started, I believe I can't remember if it was 2006 or 2005 that it was started, was the SEED program, Seeking Evangelistic Eucharistic Devotion. When it first started, I wasn't really sure. I didn't know if it was just for school or just for the parish. It started out as a school event and school parents wanting to get involved, but the nice thing about it is it's been a school and parish event. It meets once a month on a Thursday evening. We have an opportunity for 3 hours. It ends up being almost 4 hours for the Eucharistic devotion to our Lord. And it has been, I think, a really growing spiritual group, and I hope it can continue.
Was there anything we haven't touched on, or that you might have thought of, or questions, or something that you would like to further explore or say?
One thing that I didn't mention when we were talking about the schools is I do have such a strong tie to it. I volunteer there a lot. Our kids obviously go to school here, so we're here a lot. What I think is amazing about our school is that it offers a small class size, the closeness of our children. It is amazing the way an 8th grader will look out for a kindergartner, and I just don't think that you're going to see that in the public school like you see that at St. Mary's. I know I've mentioned it before, it's such a family-type atmosphere, but it's really special to see the way our world changes so quickly, yet our older children are watching out for our younger children.
That's
We're
nice.
very lucky.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Okay. If there's nothing else, I want to thank you, Angie, for being here this morning and participating in this, and we really appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much, Mary.